Ready to go, guys? Yeah? Excellent. So, I do appreciate that it has just been lunchtime. If anyone does nod off, I will not be offended. Full bellies, tight minds. If I nod off, someone just give me a call, but I'll skip lunch for that purpose. Thanks for coming to the documents training. Focus today is talking about best practices to save time and effort. So how many of you guys are administrators for documents module? Okay, lots of hands, that's what I was expecting. So you may find in here there's a lot of information you already know, but what I'm going to try and add to that is just my experiences of working with people such as yourself and the different solutions we come up with the different way you guys approach your document management. So always keeping us on our toes with different ways in order to effectively get the same result with quality within your documents. But I hope I can add some value in areas that, maybe to make you guys think about different approaches and different value to get from the documents module. Okay. For you guys that were in my SCORM presentation, I apologise because you already know who I am now. For you guys that don't, I see a lot of faces of people in here I haven't necessarily spent any time with. I just want to give you a quick introduction of myself. Now, the reason I added this slide in was because we have the Genius desks. However, I'm really sorry to disappoint you. I'm now fully booked. So, if anyone really needs to pick my mind and use the break sessions, I'm happy to accommodate. And failing that, there's lots of tools out there, WebEx and so on, for sessions following today. But I've been with MasterControl for 5 years. I've been in my current role in the professional services team for around 3.5 years. My key responsibilities, we're not a huge team here in the UK supporting EMEA, so if you are one of my clients that I'm working with, you will find that I do a lot of different roles within the project. I'll start from the bottom here. I may be the person who carries out the education, that do deliver education in the UK, sometimes on site for some of our clients as well. Mainly on the documents and training module, so they're my strongest areas in MasterControl, but I'm not limited to those. I'm also knowledgeable around validation, the process module, the project plan, and so on. And yes, past education, I may be assisting you with your best practice approach to using MasterControl, the configuration, the implementation, and then that all-important go live and allowing your users to start enjoying the control documents in MasterControl. So, I'm not sure if this is mine, but I really need some water. One of them is. So.
You'll notice tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe. I'm already a little poorly, so can't get any worse for me. Okay, so let's get into this. Little agenda just to highlight some of the areas that we'll be talking about during today's session. Some of it is actually around using MasterControl in its current release. Some features around Quick Nav, if you guys are not familiar with the latest interface of MasterControl, some good use of that. Just reiterating, accessibility of the help information in MasterControl, very useful. I use it all the time, I cannot know everything. As much as I try to, it's just not physically possible, and I find the help a great resource. And then just looking at some of the various areas that we need to consider when we're talking about our documents. The way that we name configuration to best represent the metadata in MasterControl. How we can look at the utilising the numbering and the importance of that in MasterControl. How do our users access the documents? Well, we have for people in the older version of MasterControl, they use organisers. For you guys who are using the more recent release, we have the Explorers, the new tool that's being implemented. And then some information around using templates, custom fields. So that's a huge subject. Had a whole presentation on that last year, which I managed to make last 25 minutes. So that was a key takeaway for me. Make it last 40. Improving the performance and how we assign people their roles and rights to MasterControl. And that isn't really that difficult, because people fall under responsibilities. They have responsibilities around our documents. So how do we group those people together? And then finally, we also have packets and groups as well. So just to quickly talk about the Quick Nav tool. I was really chuffed with my video here, but it's not playing. It's not going to play, I'm afraid. There was an example there for you, so if anyone wants to see that, I can show you that offline. Quick nav is a way for you to, if you are a keyboard warrior and you're not so keen on wasting time going through your mouse and clicking, you can use the quick nav tool to navigate around MasterControl. There is a, that's useful, there's a button here for it which brings it up, which would use your mouse, but you can also use Control Space to bring up the quick nav. And some commonly used functions for that, if you're doing a new document, Control Space, new document, type it in, enter, there you are, you're taken to options for selecting your document type. Log out, you can log out through the quick nav. You can access all of the different hubs in MasterControl. You guys as admin may have access to some of the portal items and so on. So if you're using 11.5 onwards, give that a go, because I'm trying to train myself to use it more often because I find it very efficient and I can actually skip around the system without taking my hands off the keyboard. So, really useful tool. The new and improved help. I'll let you guys be the judge of the improved section. So, I think it's really quite useful. I use it all the time, as I said earlier. It's always available on any page that you are at currently on the MasterControl. And the idea of using the help is that if you are writing a new info card, and this is a good training tip for people who are new to the system that you may be training up, click the help button and it will show you the relevant information for the page that you're currently browsing. A lot of the time, if I get questions from clients, I'll probably find my answer in here. So, it's good to try and use this before maybe you contact us. It may save yourself some time waiting for our responses and so on. So, it's a really good resource for information. You'll find help logos in the top right, in the top left, and if you want a hub page, they're right in the middle as well. So we're really giving you all the options there available. There's no reason not to be able to find that question mark button. But yes, there's a tip here around the bottom. The sysadmin, great bedtime reading, just a mere 800 pages, but it has all the information in the sysadmin manual that can be located from the help. The creator, reviser and reader manuals, so focused on roles in MasterControl, also accessible in the help file. I always advise people to use those to help you build your own training materials. If you are trying to train people and give them some quick nav cards on how to be a creator advisor, make sure you use our materials to help you out there, or even point them to them, because it's all there for you guys to utilize. So I'm going to skip straight into some of the good practice approaches of making sure MasterControl is configured to get the most out of it. So when it comes to naming our items, we have an approach to consider having to use abbreviations because there are character limits on fields, and consider maybe a prefix, start off the naming convention, part of your main identifier of the item, and sometimes also a suffix to identify a subsection of the main. So bearing this in mind, whenever you are receiving consultancy from MasterControl and the professional services team, we will always follow this rule, and from experience it's very effective. From experience also, most of you guys already have abbreviations internally that people use coded for various things around your document, so it usually translates quite easily into MasterControl. So there's some advice here and some considerations about the repeat names around info card types or any features in MasterControl. Try to keep it simple. That is the approach we take for everything. The more simple, the easier to manage, the easier to maintain, the easier for users to adopt. As sysadmins, by the time you finished with MasterControl in those initial phases and your ongoing education service, you understand everything. What about the people who only use it for 2% a week, a day? It needs to be understandable for those guys, and that's the big scope here. We've got to think about the large user interaction with the system. So keeping naming simple. Try to avoid being too specific with the naming functions, and keep prefixes where they're identified for sites, and I'll talk about that in a moment, nice and simple also. Now this consideration over here in the grey image box there is suggesting using repeating so this is a parent-child relationship, so the info card type and the subtype, repeating it in the subtype. So there's some value to doing that around templates, searchability, just having both items in the subtype does allow you to say, okay, I know exactly what this is. It's a QA policy rather than just saying QA. However, it will work the other way also, and depending on some of the questions and some of the discussions you guys have, it's a decision point to make. So it's not that there's a right or wrong, it's just about, you know, what is the best one that accommodates for your needs. Best practice example. So to back up what I was saying earlier, keep it consistent throughout MasterControl. So this table has some naming for route, vault, info card types, and our numbering. Now the BSK and the SLC are site specific, and they're using the MasterControl 2 of our locations, one of them being Basingstoke in the UK, the other one being Salt Lake City in Utah, America. So by identifying the prefix as the site, straight away I know exactly what this config belongs to and what it represents. And the main being for the route, we're talking about it's being an SOP, so again identifying exactly what it belongs to and what it represents. And DCO being a suffix to say this is a document collaboration route. It's just identifying. So that's sort of that final suffix there may need some internal training so people understand what that represents, but being consistent with it is the key. We've gone for the same with the vaults, the info card types as well. In this case, not necessarily needing a suffix to identify that it's a Basingstoke SOP. And again with the numbering, because this is a site accommodating for, sorry, this is a MasterControl solution accommodating for multiple sites, we're adding the site to the numbering as well for site-specific documents. Numbering is always a great topic. And it's always the one that kicks off. So you're smiling, you know why. It kicks off some more in-depth conversations in training and education and consultancy than maybe is necessary, my opinion. But I don't have a quality background, and I don't necessarily know the value in that. And we're going to move on to numbering now. Simple numbering over complicated numbering. Now I can appreciate that if you are using a paper system prior to using software like MasterControl, that the numbering probably has a lot of value because it is a core identifier for the document in a lot of coded abbreviations. That is not necessarily the same in MasterControl. A simple number, okay, what's important about it? It's got to be unique, which MasterControl, it will always be unique. If anyone has repeat numberings, I'll be interested to know how you did that. I'm not going to say it's not possible, because someone might hold me up to that in here and see that as a challenge, but it shouldn't be possible, and I haven't seen it yet in 5 years. So yeah, do we need to add QA, prod, engineering, 00001? Probably not, no. Because the reality is in MasterControl, all of those metadata fields on the info card hold that information. And users are not looking for the documents necessarily on number, they're looking for an SOP for QA based on the information from a metadata. Question?
Couldn't we use the same numbering series for everything in MasterControl?
Yeah.
Like
Casey, do you mind?
Start at one, increment with
Yeah,
one.
we did that, and it was a huge, you know, they were saying, no, you can't do, you shouldn't do that.
QA
But
people told
we
you
just
that,
have,
right?
no, so I'm a QA.
Me too.
And we just said, no smart numbering, it's just a number.
Yeah.
And it works, and that's what I'm used to doing at other companies, so that's what we've done. It's fantastic.
So
I love that.
I want that too.
Yeah.
I used it in another place, but my current has 15 number series.
Well, we started with work instruction and SOPs, but now everything has their own unique number. So I'm like, we just have to have one numbering series.
Yeah, and it's much more versatile actually for the future, and that's what we're trying to get to is sustainability. And so the smart numbering, it's not always going to work going forward, but one number does.
Yeah.
So that might be a new best practice.
Maybe, yeah. I'll give them everyone. I would say, I've got case studies. Katie. No, thank you for that. Yeah. So now you've shared that, I'm going to share it with Katie. Just has and Lena just went with 6 numbers.
Yep, 6 numbers.
And it would just increment every time. That's it. No codes, nothing. Because the value is actually in the metadata, the custom fields, the info card type, the subtype, where it's stored, which status it's at. That's all the information that people want to know.
It eliminates one more error.
It does, and people don't search on number typically. I mean, I will when I know mine, but if a user is looking, they're just gonna look under a title.
And, you know, not to think, oh, all that numbering effort we put in the past has gone to loss. If you're new and you're being imported, we would put your previous number in as well. So we still have searchability on that, but it doesn't hold the same value in MasterControl. Okay. So yeah, as I said, numbering is always a topic for discussion, and it always kicks up a lot of interesting reports.
Well, I still have to convince
Yeah, that's always the
everyone
challenge.
in my company.
Yeah, that's the challenge.
Use me as
Yes, I will. Give me your card later.
I don't have one, but you can get my name.
Okay. So yes, custom fields also. So making sure we use those, and we'll talk about those in a little bit more depth also. And here we are, custom fields. Look at that. I should look at this really. It actually tells me what's coming up. Okay, custom fields, good practice. I really like custom fields. I have my own personal opinions on how they're used on an info card for documents. Not too many, because I don't want it to be a form for my users. 2 or 3 maybe could be a good number. Start doing more than that, then we're asking for a lot of user input. But there are lots of different options around custom fields. It accommodates for text, rich text, select data structures. If any of you were in Minar's presentation earlier, they can be added as custom fields. So cross-module use of the same data lists. But they add a lot to value because it's all searchable and reportable. So from my experiences, we've used custom fields for some more challenging scenarios as well. One thing I would say, might be there as a tip already, custom data, multi-select custom data. So this is you as admins providing a select list for users to choose from. Minimises error. We don't want them free typing. We make sure they choose from the same list. But then it's just about selecting the right value. Okay, and it makes sure it's consistent. I've had solutions where people have said, we have people who are readers, so they're not full license users, they're just readers, and we want them only to see certain documents. And we've actually done things where we've used custom fields, and although it's something else people have to set, we've said, okay, we've set up an organizer view, or explorer, depending on your version, and it will display to those users, because of the roles we've given them, just the documents that have that custom field value. So we can actually use them in some smart ways as well to limit visibility of documents. Because we do know that roles are access to everything within a vault, not just 1 or 2 documents. But maybe with a combination of roles and custom fields, we can actually find a solution for them scenarios. Okay. Making them required as well. If they're important, make sure they're required. Make sure people have to do them. As a document creator, ultimately there's really only 3 things I need to worry about. A good quality title, making sure the template is correct or the file they upload is correct, and then making sure the custom deal metadata is correctly filled out. And it's safe, get it on an approval process. It's not much they have to do. Okay, so considerations regarding organisers. How many of you guys rely on organisers? Do you use them a lot? Yeah? And I may have seen that hand go up for a question first.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Still related to this custom fields.
Yes.
I understand that I know that I'm able to add a new custom field to existing info cards.
Mm-hmm.
And what if I would like to remove some custom fields?
Okay.
Will they stay for those info cards which are filled out, or?
Mm-hmm. So you're on about removing values as an option for users. So if you remove the value from the custom field, it wouldn't be available to select. But the knock-on effect of that is that it's now removed from the value, so it may affect info cards that have already selected it. So when we're managing list of custom fields, we have to be careful about those values that are available, and if we remove those valuables, there will be a knock-on effect, because the system is not going to store those in the other info cards where it may have already been selected. Okay, so there's a consideration there.
Yeah, but that is in fact a little bit tricky, because as soon as you are changing that, you are losing more or less your history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And
also faced.
it is a challenge of approaching how to manage those custom fields once they've been set, and in this change that you want to change those values. So it's something we have to take into consideration, and it's something I've asked on a few occasions on, can we make sure the values are retained, and how can we better manage that? So at the moment, it's a bit of watch this space for how we're going to address those situations.
It is a similar effect for if you are renaming the custom field also, because the perspective seems to be that you are adding always a new custom field if you are changing something, but then you will increase the number of custom fields significantly. So as soon as you are changing the things, you have to change all the data set profiles and all these things.
Yeah.
And that is also a little bit hard. So if you could achieve there, let us say, a change or something like that, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, no, that's great feedback.
And all that stuff.
Yeah, that's very good feedback. Yeah, so it's very important to be aware of how you're using custom fields in values, because currently in how the system works, if you want to change those values or modify them, there are consequences of those changes. It may affect your reporting, it may affect other info cards which were relying on those values, it may affect your organisers. So removing values is not, it needs to be approached with caution. If it's a value that's not being used, then oh, that's great, let's get rid of it. If it's something that has been used, we need to either consider replacing it with a new one so that we can remove it.
Report where used.
Yeah. Because if it has been used, then, and you're going to remove it, is it now even required, you know, for the fact you're removing it? So do we need to replace it with a different value? And it's a mini sort of project approach there for consideration. But you know, it's one of the things in our approach to development that I fed back that I'd like to see the options to be able to say, retain the value, don't make it visible. I think it's as simple as that. Yet we won't remove it for historical reasons, but I don't want it no longer to be selectable for our users going forward. I think that would be a good solution. If we can do it, I'm waiting for that feedback. So yes, so keep an eye on our release notes and our upcoming information.
But did it change in 11.5 or higher on? Because I got the impression that when we used 10.1.8, we were able, we removed some of the custom fields, and when I opened or edit this info card, those fields were still visible, but they were grayed out or something like that. Maybe I'm wrong, but...
That's not how I understand it. You're talking about version 10 here, so I can certainly look into that, and I'd probably have to feed that back to you and find out if that's how it works or not. Okay, thank you. Okay, so organisers. Now we always sort of try to drive the use of taxonomies, which is coming in the next slide, as it says here. But there are other ways to use organisers. You can create virtual folders, or you can create static groupings of documents. Now they may have both may have value to you, but they may require a little bit more setup and management. Okay. So virtual folders, that is effectively using a saved search. So when you do a search in the documents module, you can save that, and then we can use that criteria to create a structure in MasterControl as a folder. So anything that meets that criteria will appear in the folder structure. That's great. One-time management manages itself from there going forward. Okay. The static one offers full control. You can create a static listing of documents. You can choose whether they should be replaced by the new revisions if it happens, or if it's just always a point-in-time capture. But they do take manual management to do that. When we're talking about organisers, it's very much emphasis is on the admins to manage those. It's not something users do, so you guys decide as admins. Okay. I have to speed up a little bit because I'm enjoying talking too much here. I don't know how many slides I have left. Quite a few. Here we go. So taxonomies. Making sure we can use the taxonomies to identify how we want to group our documents. So this is what we sort of drive most of our users towards. Very easy to set up, and then they're self-maintenance. So it's using the system fields available to create a hierarchy. And it's as simple as saying, first, group all my documents by their type. Then show me only the released ones, and then I might even add some custom field values. So let's think of a scenario here. Maybe I am a medical device company, and I'm using the custom field of device. And I'm making sure it's required, so it's always filled. I can go in here and I can show, group all my documents by the device that's been selected in the custom field. So I'll go to my Explorer or Organizer view, and it will show me the device custom field values, and then I can drill down in there to see all the documents. Next level might be the type. I want to see the SAPs. I want to see the policies, and so on. Okay. So this is very straightforward to set up.
Time's up.
Oh no, what's going on? There we go. Very easy to set up, very easy to manage, and can be modified at any time by the admins. You know, make changes while they're live if you have to. No impact or risk of doing that. But it's important because you can drill down how many clicks can we make it, how quick can we get people to their documents. I like 3 or 4 at maximum. If I'm using virtual folders, in the previous one, you can maybe get rid of a click or 2 there. It just takes a little bit to set up. Okay. There was a tip here, which we've noticed a little bit of a flaw in the setup here, and I hope this gets addressed in the future. But if you add new configuration, just be aware of your taxonomies, because we've had some feedback, and I wasn't aware that this happens, but it will automatically add to the values of the new configuration to the selected list. So it will start creating folders on those values, rather than the unselected list. So if you are adding new config, you may have to just do some maintenance on your taxonomies just to adjust the selected values, okay? I see a few nods people may have come up against that. Okay. So good practices, consolidate and keep it simple. Do we need to create an organizer for every document type or every department? Probably not. Using taxonomies, you could probably get it in one folder structure. People may recognize that from older versions. That's the organizer view. For you guys who are using the more recent releases, you have the Explorer view. As if I knew it was coming. Here's the new sleek interface for viewing organizers. The idea here is, one, the previous view relied on Java Applet to run, getting rid of that. This one is a nice interface, much more user-friendly, offering more functionality. They can create favorites. So yes, first time they went to one of their favorite documents, 2 or 3 clicks. The next time, 1 click from the home page because they've created a favorite to it. So there's some tools there, and that's personalized to the user. They could look at the info card metadata from here. They can filter the view with the search, so they can type in maybe a title and show them what they're looking for. And they can change how the options are displayed. So if they don't like a list, maybe they like tiles. You can also use this. You guys who have to present forms, you may be given access to your forms in a native format rather than the PDF, because they want to download it, fill that out for other areas of the business. They can get a native file from here, they can get access to the PDF. Some config set up around that. So different views, just to quickly cover the screenshots, a list of view. You've got a pane view to show the structure you've gone through to get your documents, and very straightforward tile view. Yeah, personalised to each user, so hopefully it adds value to their interaction with the system, and no doubt much nicer than the older version. Good practice with regards to templates. Can we keep them simple? Again, emphasis on that word simple, making our life a little bit easier with the simplicity of using templates in MasterControl. I think there's a session on templates tomorrow, so that may be interesting to see what they're suggesting. Can we use the same template across multiple document types? Do we need to give them different options of templates? You can have select drop-down lists. And one thing to remember with templates is that the user can choose, create revisers we're talking about here, and doc admins, they can choose to override them with uploading their own file if they wanted to. We cannot force them or take that ability away. And let's not forget, someone needs to manage those template files. They are recognised in MasterControl as templates. Someone needs to manage them, make sure the correct ones are available, the correct ones have been approved if you're putting them through an approval process. Sometimes overlooked.
What's tricky with that thing is also what we realized there with the taxonomies is if you are adding new custom fields and you have no values in the documents and things like that, and the taxonomy is not retrieving this document as, let me say, having the value none or something like that. That might be a little bit trickier. Yeah,
it sort of backs up that we try to make sure the value of custom fields is always a required value, so that it's always populated.
For your history, for your history it's difficult because then you have to mass change all the existing documents. So available also in the taxonomy. But all previously, let me say, established documents are not available.
Okay. It sounds like you had some interesting setup with how you use custom fields, and you're using the correct way. So, just because of my time restraint, and I've gone over, maybe we should get together and have a little chat about that and see how we can help come up with some solutions. Yeah. You can hold me to that as well. I'd be happy to help. Automate to accelerate. I didn't come up with that title, but it's quite catchy. Yeah, sounds marketing, doesn't it? So based on each document type that we have in the system, down to subtype level, we can drive automation of all of these items. Where is it going to be stored? What numbering should it use? Where's the initial revision? What custom fields should be available? Won't go through them all, but you know, if you're not using any of these, then maybe it's to consider, because it's just making sure that our users, our creative advisors, we're talking about here, they don't have to think about these items. Done for them. It's given, it's locked down. They can't change the values because of the way we set up their access. So we're driving automation and consistency with our document creation. Picking up the speed a little bit more. 10 slides to go. Let's see how we do. Performance improvement. Okay. Why are we talking about performance with documents? It's more around the management of users. Let's make sure we have the right roles assigned as owners of documents, the right personnel are on the routing. You know, remembering to manage the disabling of users if they leave the company, changing people's information on their user card if they change roles within the company. This can have slight impacts on how you manage documents. It may determine who gets policies for review and approval and so on. So just, you know, make sure you cover the management of users, because it could have an effect on how you manage your documents. Doc admins, maybe specifically, people who are or creating tasks, make sure we keep an eye on the tracking of documents. Maintenance, someone may pause one, someone may cancel one.
I've got a question. If I go into tracking and I'm not logged in as sysadmin, I don't see review tasks.
Review tasks?
Yeah.
No. So review tasks are system-driven tasks, which is why
Yes.
you see them as sysadmin, unless you're on the task itself.
Yeah. So there's no possibility to change that, to make it as an option, I don't know, for a role, so that some people might see those review tasks, because it's kind of, I don't know, unnecessary to log out as myself, log in as sysadmin to see review tasks.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not going to say no, because I don't know, I won't lie.
Okay.
I will find out for you though.
Okay.
If we can find a solution so that you don't have to use a sysadmin account.
Yeah.
Sysadmin generally account that can abort review tasks, training tasks, because they are system driven. They're not designed by you guys. It is how the system functionality works, which is why it's locked to sysadmin.
Yeah, but I just want to see them, because sometimes it's like, who has that
Just looking
task?
at them,
Just
yeah.
change the person and the task or something.
Okay. Let me look into that and see if there's another solution.
Yeah.
Yes, keeping our maintenance and tracking tidy. Publishing maintenance, and it's not unusual for there to be the odd error in publishing, maybe because within there is I want to say there's a session on publishing and good tips to try and avoid some of these sort of errors that come up, but it could be as simple as the image went outside the margin of the document, publishing isn't sure about creating the PDF and so on. So errors can be generated, so keeping an eye on the queue, making sure someone's monitoring some sort of inbox to see the email notifications the system can send, and just making sure that they're actioned. So it's all just a bit about tidying and keeping the system ticking over. Generally, publishing looks after itself, but you may come across the odd error. Our support team are very well trained on dealing with those as well. So if you've got any questions, I'm not the person to ask. Support team definitely are. Automating reports. Now this would certainly help in your scenario with review policy. Set up a report to have the system send you on a schedule, show me all the review tasks, which ones are currently active, how long they've been active, and so on. So reporting is really popular for making sure you are monitoring the tracking of tasks, because we want to make sure if there's any that are sitting there stale for a few days, when you go and find out why and so on, you might need to take action. Do we need to log into MasterControl? Maybe not. Maybe every Monday the system is scheduled to send you a report. So definitely look into using scheduled reports to get that information. It might save you some time. It can come in a spreadsheet, it can come in a PDF format straight into your mailbox. And first thing you see Monday morning, put a smile on your face. So some suggestions here: task management reports, in-process reports for packets, advanced packets, making sure we use the filter options to manipulate that to get the data you want and not just everything. It could be a bit time consuming. Performance improvements. I don't know too much about this subject. I didn't write this presentation, but I am delivering it. So the image compression, so in Word, I believe there's some tools where you can set some settings for how you store images and compress those. May help in, certainly for you guys who are paying for space in a cloud solution, can help in maybe saving a little bit of space per document, especially as you start to increase the amount you're storing in MasterControl. Also, it could have some impact on the way they're published, and the speed and the size of that published file. So this is actually not a MasterControl thing necessarily in some of the native options within things like Microsoft Word, Excel, and so on. You can see how I skipped past that one now. Not a big topic. It's not one of my big topics. This one I like though. Roles, setup, and rights. So we use roles in MasterControl for two functions. One is to give people their access to the system and their responsibilities. Are you a document creator? Are you just a reader? Are you a document admin with lots of buttons to press? We use roles to determine what you should be doing in the system, but we also use roles to create groupings of people. So they're not rights-based, it's not determining what documents you can see, it's to create a grouping of people. And they really add value around things like review policies, approval tasks. So, really, if you're not using those at the moment, do consider using those. When it comes to user management, you can go to a user and you can say, show me everywhere this user is in the system. You didn't like him, he's gone. I need to replace that user, and it will show you all the roles they're in and so on. So you're not going through manually changing users on different areas. You just assign them to different roles effectively, and it will update the whole MasterControl system. I'm very disappointed with my alignment down here in the left. I missed that one, and I can't remember who proofread this for me. I will be feeding it back and passing the blame there. Rights-based roles. You're going to fall under one of five sort of roles in MasterControl. Are you sysadmin? Are you managing MasterControl as a system? Are you the owner of the system? Are you a document admin? You have lots of options around document management. Remember, this is focused on documents. Maybe you're a creator advisor. Create documents, you can revise documents. Or do you just read documents, but you are fully licensed because you may have to collaborate, you may have to approve, you may be a supervisor. Therefore, you need a full license, but you don't do effectively the creation initially. You might be called in as part of that process. If you're none of those, then you're just a reader. You log in, you get My MasterControl, you do training if you're using that module, you do your tasks, and then you read your documents that you have access to. But you wouldn't be doing anything like approval processes, collaboration, because you're using a view-only license. This lighting keep changing, isn't it?
It's the sun.
Is it? Ah, thank you. There you go. Non-rights roles. Are you approval roles? Maybe you're being used as leaders on certain processes. Review board for the review process for a change request in MasterControl with advanced packets. So who should be saying yes or no to your changes? Use a role, capture a group of people. And maybe it's department managers, which you could use for the owners of documents. We want to assign an owner for the purpose of review policy, use a role, not a specific person. One, it can include more than one person, and then the policy will go to more than one person. Sorry, the review policy will go. So the review task, I should say, would go to more than one person. So just making sure that there's contingency in the event that someone's not available. Okay. So that's saying assigning a role as a document owner on the info card itself. Okay. If anyone would like to set up any roles, we have the rights matrix, which gives you a start guide for how to configure a role based on our best practice experience. For example, if you are a creator advisor, the rights matrix will tell you, give them these rights and they will be a creator advisor. Keep them separate with clear naming. Don't have a role that is capturing people's access and rights to documents being used as an approval step. Let's keep them separate and let's clearly name them within because they are stored in the same list of roles in the portal. But if we had adding things like CR, creator advisor, APP, approval group, TRN for training, then we can clearly identify what that role represents just by looking at the listing of names. So using the naming conventions to really clearly identify what the role represents.
How about using a checkbox in the actual role instead?
When you're creating them, that's a great idea, yeah. I mean, we can certainly feedback.
This is a role right, or right role, and this is a non-right role.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. And that's certainly something I would feedback. Yeah, it could save on naming, certainly. Okay. If you have roles which require high security, like the right to be able to log in as a sysadmin, or the right to change people's passwords, maybe make the sysadmin account the owner of that role. That means that other admins cannot see it in the listing. You have to log into sysadmin to see it and manage it. Okay, so this is around security. For anyone that's new to MasterControl, as consultants, we're trained to think about all these things and bring up these questions in discussion. For anyone who's using MasterControl, not doing this, doesn't mean you can't approach us and ask advice on making those changes and how best to approach it. Okay. Now, I'm very conscious of time, so I'm going to finalise this. I don't remember what time this is meant to finish. Anyone? Does it have a timer on it? Okay, so routes and packets. In version 10, it was a one-to-one relationship. You'd have a route, you would have a packet. And that's slightly different in MasterControl version 11 onwards. You can have a packet associated with lots of different routes. And actually, if you're clever, you can use roles to then determine when someone launches that packet, which route they see in the listing. Maybe it's only one, maybe it's a selection. And I've done things with clients where they've had one packet for 10 routes, but depending on the roles that you're members of, you won't see all of those 10 routes, and they're not available to you, and you cannot see them and you cannot launch them. And that's just using roles to manage that sort of visibility for owners and assigned users. So there's an option to assign people who are the assigned users to this particular route. That's controlling who can start it. So you can do some clever things there to use one packet type with multiple routes available. There's always this sort of discussion around, oh, if I'm doing a new packet, launching a new task, do I need to change request or not? Some clients say, yeah, everything needs change request, which is a great approach. Others say, for initial ones, no. For revisions, yes. So you might have to make 2 available for them, and they'd have to be trained to select the right one. Just little considerations for the user experience. So I think this is my last slide, you'll be pleased to know. Bottlenecks. If you're using MasterControl, maybe keep an eye on your reporting. Look for where there's slowdowns in the process, using the cycle time reports, things like that, to see where can we speed up our document processes. How many people are approving them, and are we being a little bit overkill? What's the minimum requirement we need in the purpose of someone saying, I'd like an auditor, for example, saying, I'd like to see a document. You only need to have on there what they need to see. It's not get people sign off just because they want to be important and have their sign off. Let's think about the cycle time, the speed that we can get these documents released, having the relevant people on there. So again, reporting can really help in identifying those items. Do we have to have every approval step one after the other? So I've done my part, now it's Katie's turn. As my supervisor, Katie's now doing it, and then it's going to doc admin to then do a check and also do an approval. Can we do maybe, let's say an author and a supervisor approval at the same time? So they both get a different task, but they can both approve at the same time to save time. It can make it more efficient and quicker for releasing your documents. And the reality is they're either going to say yes or no, regardless of the order it comes in. One of them could reject, and it only ever takes one to reject. So if they're approving at the same time, is that actually a problem? Possibly not. Okay. Whew. There we go. We got there in the end.
8 minutes.
So we do enjoy your feedback, guys. We like taking a look at that and seeing how we can improve this session. If you do have time, please go to the website and provide it. It's greatly appreciated. We had some reports that maybe this wasn't working earlier. We've tested it and it seems to be back online. It's going to be a brief clip. So. Thank you, guys. Sorry there wasn't any time for questions. I will be here for 2 days. Not much time.